a lot of people are going to look at this and they're going to say, especially with these legacy characters that you have, people are going to say, well, that's cool, but man, that's such a departure from the style of Yogi and all the other Hanna-Barbera characters that I grew up with. And
Yeah.
a lot, and
Yeah.
some of these things that compare to, because now you get criticisms from people when, especially when they're bringing up beloved properties. They say, well, it has that CalArts style. They're like Thundercats. Thundercats Roar got a lot of pushback for taking on a completely different
Yeah,
style.
but that was a funny show, man.
That's what I heard. I heard it was funny.
And the thing is, like, people could poop on it, but it's funny. And you know what? To me, that doesn't take away from the awesomeness of regular Thundercats. It's just like, if you're gonna do a comedy show, why not make it look goofy? I always felt like you look at something like Batman, right? How many versions of Batman has there been?
Mm-hmm.
And that just makes it a bigger brand. It makes it a bigger IP, right? So why do people get mad that Thundercats would have different styles? It just makes it bigger. It's like, that may not have been the Thundercats you wanted, but they did that. They did that in like 2011, and it was awesome, and nobody watched it, but it was awesome. Like, I don't know. People want to complain about everything.
Well, have you got any complaints about Jellystone?
Not to my face, but I knew that going in. Here's the thing, though. Look, I had to make a decision early on in development about what I wanted to do with these characters and how I knew. I'm not a nostalgia person. I don't care about nostalgia. You're never going to win with nostalgia. You can't win that battle. You'll never beat nostalgia. You can't. No, because nostalgia is emotionally connected to people's memories of their childhood, and you cannot and will not beat that, right? The reality is, if you go back and watch them, all right, so there's, but so I'm like, I'm not gonna win on that front. I can't win on that front. I have to do what I want to, and this is where I said I had to approach it as if I was making a show for myself. What would I do? How would I do it? How would it look? And if I made it look like classic Hanna-Barbera, I feel like then I'm competing with the stuff that was done out of Adult Swim, like Harvey Birdman and Space Ghost and those shows, right? And I love those shows, but I wanted to separate this from how those looked and felt. And those had a foot firmly rooted in the aesthetic of the old Hanna-Barbera style. This may not be what people want from classic Hanna-Barbera characters, but I wasn't setting out to make a classic Hanna-Barbera show. I feel like kids, if they saw them looking like the old characters, they can kind of sniff it. Do you know what I mean? They kind of sniff out that it doesn't feel new. And then I also wanted them to be funny, and I don't feel like those classic designs are necessarily funny. They were all about economy. They were about using the same 3 drawings over and over and over, but they didn't stretch. They didn't squash. They didn't do big takes. They weren't cartoony, And to me, this was going to be a more cartoony show. It's still grounded in a lot of ways, but I also had to unify the visual style across dozens of characters who all had different looks across different eras, from classic Hanna-Barbera cartoons through the 70s, 80s, 90s. You know what I mean? Like, there were so many different styles that I had to sort of figure out, how do I put them all together? And it was never meant to be a retro show. It wasn't what I was interested in. I didn't want to recreate the past.